Hello everyone, welcome after more than 3 weeks, and today it will be a short stream because the only thing I want to show you is how to find the first part of RealWorld Paint source code on the GitHub web, and what you need to download it and start working with it, developing your own plugins or changing something in the published code. So you can find the source code here on the github.com site /vlastaRW /realworld-core, and this is the first part of the real world source code that is currently published. The other parts are not yet published, and it took me more time than I have anticipated to modify the code so that it can be compiled in the new version of the Microsoft Visual Studio. And so far I have only managed to modify a part of the source code, this first part, and there will be a second part that will be published later when all the changes I have to do before publishing are done. And these changes involved cleaning up the source code, moving some parts that are Windows specific and make them potentially usable on Linux or elsewhere, and cleaning up old parts of the code that are not used anymore, and so on. It is really time consuming. So this is why it took so long to publish even this first part. So let me quickly check the stream. It's working, okay. And so you can find it here, and you can download this code, for example, in a zip and unzip it on your computer, and you will need to download from here. When you Google for Visual Studio, it will take you to Microsoft.com, Visual Studio Microsoft.com, and there you can download the free version of Visual Studio. This one, the Community Edition. You don't need Professional or Enterprise. So you can download it, install it on your computer, and then you can open the downloaded zip, or you can directly open the project from the GitHub website, and you can skip the downloading of the zip, and when you open the project you will see something like this. Compare it with the web. Okay, the order of the things is slightly different. Here is alphabetical order with the folders first, and here you can see just the folders, but here you can see RW base, then batch processing, these concepts, and so on. So in general, each of these folders contains a project, and in this first package, realworld-core, there is the central part of the real world application. For example, this, okay, let's start with this. This is the most important part called RWDesigner-core, and this is responsible for this mainframe of the application. It handles this main menu, it handles these buttons for the start pages, it contains the code for this page, how to display the wizards that allow you to create documents. It contains okay, not directly, it allows you to open documents, it handles the recently opened documents and so on. And for example, this internal part, this window that allows you to browse folders or open files from the library, is inside this module, RW storage and RW storage SQLite. The SQLite module is responsible for this text library that is currently empty here, but if you, for example, delete this file that is produced by compiling this project, you won't see this text library tab here, and you will be only able to open files that are directly on your hard drive. What else is in the realworld-core package? So you can see this RWBase and RWConfig and these concepts. These contain, for example, RWConfig handles almost all configuration. For example, if you go to manage layouts and for example open the configuration editor for the icon editor, then these parts of this window are handled by the RWConfig DLL, and it is created by compiling this project. What else is there? RW imaging contains very basic function related to colors. For example, it handles, it contains this configuration dialog. If you want to, you can change this in RW imaging inside this project, and if you want to create your own color picker, there is the code that you need to modify or add an alternative. RW localization is responsible for allowing other languages than English to be used. So for example, this configuration page is inside RW localization. RW processing, this project is for defining interfaces and providing basic functionality related to running commands. So for example, this is a list of commands, and in order to put them in the menu, you have to use, let me show you, for example, this separator line is implemented in this file menu command separator, these two files. So menu command pop-up implements things like this pop-up menu. This is not a direct command, but it is a pop-up menu item. Menu command operation handles each of these standard, should I say commands or operations? Okay, it doesn't really matter, but if you want to understand how a real world designer works, then the menu contains menu commands, and this rotate right. Let me show you configuration of that. It was in the image menu. Let's go here. So you can see that we have this command list that is implemented in menu commands vector, and inside that are individual commands, and they are called document operation, and this one is implemented here in menu commands operation. Inside it we have the actual operation. In this case we have an operation that extracts the currently selected layer, and that depends on what is currently clicked in the application window. And inside that we have another operation that is called raster image rotate. So, and here is the configuration of the raster image rotate operation. So we have two operations, and they are encapsulated in this menu command, and thanks to that we can see this menu item here. So this is in the real world processing. It contains this shared how to say it best, the necessary parts that everything you saw here except the actual rotation that is not here, but the way to present the rotation to the user via the main menu or via toolbars and so on. So this is in the real world processing file. It handles operations and transformations take a document and produce a different document, and operations modify currently selected document. So this is quite important part of the real world paint. Here we have scripting, and this allows you to add your own JavaScript commands to wherever you want. If I right click here, configure the toolbar, you can see that we see the familiar things. I see the document list. We have talked about it minutes ago. Under it we see document operation. We again extract part of the document we want to work with, the current frame, and here is the JavaScript operation that is implemented inside RW scripting. You can see it here, operation JavaScript, and here, and mainly here, it's longer, is the code that that represents this part you can see here. So it allows you to put some text here that is considered to be JavaScript code, and this JavaScript document operation JavaScript executes this code for you. And here are some helper functions. You can see that you can use document here as a keyword or as a object that is provided by RealWorld Paint. You can see this context object, you can see this configuration object here, and you can see that they are here: scripted context, scripted configuration, scripted document, and more. And these provide methods that should be useful to the order of this JavaScript. And as you can see, you can add your own helper functions to this JavaScript subsystem. So this is what is in the real-world scripting DLL. I have already talked about RW storage that allows other parts of the application to access files on disk or elsewhere. You can add your own storage, a plugin, and then RealWorld could be able, for example, to directly access Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever you want, but you have to implement a storage plugin. Here RW thumbnails is a part that is responsible for creating thumbnails of document. They are used, for example, here. So in order to generate these previews of recently modified files, the RealWorld thumbnails project here has something to do with it. Thumbnails are also used to generate the thumbnails you see here. So, and then we have these three projects. Let me quickly check if the stream is okay. Yes, it's fine. These three projects, and they are responsible for the actual content of the editor window. This RWViewLayout allows you or me to configure the look and or the layout of the main window. For example, you can see that you can resize these two windows, or you can resize this, and this functionality is provided by this designer view splitter object or class, and this allows you to put individual windows inside the main window of the application and put different other views into the individual parts. And you can see we have also here designer view tab, and this one allows you to put or combine other views in this way, to put them into one over the other with tab on top or at the bottom. And another thing that is in this module is this roll down type of window, and the roll down window is, you can see it here. It allows you to place panels and allows you to expand or collapse the individual panels. So this has nothing to do with editing images, but it allows you to configure the editor window in the way you need it. And you can see there is also this somewhat mysterious docking windows class that's not used actually because it was never finished. It uses a library by, I don't remember who, but it was too complicated. But if anyone wants to make this happen, and this the functionality provided by this, the idea was to allow something to customize the user interface in a similar way that, for example, this Microsoft Visual Studio allows you to customize the interface. You can see that you can drag these sub windows and put them at different places. So it was here, and it would be nice to have something like that in RealWorld Paint, but somebody has to actually do it. So this project allows you to combine other views as you need. Then we have RWViewStructure, and it actually contains two different views and some other things, probably three. So we have already seen this mysterious extract document part command, and there is something similar for views, because let me give you an example. Let's create a new mouse cursor, and you can see that this raster editor or vector editor is the same if you edit a raster image or a cursor, but a cursor contains multiple or can contain multiple frames, and the editor has to somehow know which frame is selected, and there are multiple ways how to do it. If I created this raster editor without knowing anything about cursors, then how would this raster editor know that we are currently editing, for example, this second frame, and that we are now editing this third frame? It wouldn't be able to know this. So this where is this designer view SubDocumentFrame actually is an invisible view here that contains the raster editor, and this SubDocumentFrame communicates with this window here, and when it detects that a different frame is selected, it destroys the old raster editor and creates a new one and sends just this one frame to the raster editor. So it simplifies the design of the raster editor and other things. So this is the function of the SubDocumentFrame view. We have, for example, this designer view choose best layout, and this is something similar. You can see that we have a raster layer here and a vector layer. I can add a vector layer, and then I can switch between them. And again here the raster editor is something else than the vector editor, although it seems that this editor here has not changed. It actually did change in the same way it changed while I was clicking here on different frames. When I change to a different layer, the vector editor that was active here in this sub window was destroyed and a new raster editor was created. And how do I know which editor to create here? The raster editor only knows about raster images or raster layers, and the vector editor only understands vector images. In order to have both of them here and switch between them, I am using this choose best layout view. So again, here is a container that contains both the raster editor and the vector editor, and depending on the type of the document that we are currently editing, in this case the document is the layer, just the layer, it creates either one editor or the other one. So this choose best layout designer view is used for this purpose. And we also have this designer view 3. This is a universal, more or less universal way to display hierarchical structures, and this is used, for example, here. This designer view 3 is responsible for functionality of this window. We have just 2 items here, but when I create a group, you can now see that the structure becomes more complex. We have substructures here. You can have as many layers as you need, and the way how to display these individual items, how to edit them, how to drag and drop them, all these functions are implemented here in designer view 3. You can see probably more it will be visible better when I open this 3D create this 3D file. So here you can see the tree or hierarchical nature of the displayed data, and this is implemented here in designer view 3. Okay, I've skipped the RWViewBasic because I want to show you RWDocumentBasic first, and this project is responsible for actually opening or holding open the document you are working with currently, and this project is able to open text and binary documents. You can see what is this? I have opened one of the source files for batch operations. So when I clicked here on this thumbnail, the document factory text has opened this text file, and document text is currently holding this information, and this window is implemented in RWViewBasic in the designer view text, and this is using the Scintilla image editor. You can see it here. This is not by me, this is by some other author, but we are using it in RealWorld in this RWBasic. So this in realworld-core we have only support for text files and binary files, and you have probably never opened a binary file in RealWorld Designer or other application. Let me show you how you can do it and why you have never run it. It is because you do not have a layout, user interface layout for binary documents. So let me duplicate the text editor, maybe rename it to binary editor, and edit it, and here let's call it binary editor. Maybe choose a different icon, I don't know, doesn't matter. And here we choose binary data. This binary data is provided with this, using this document factory binary, and we should probably here use something else than text editor. We should use binary data X editor that is implemented in RWViewBasic. So okay, we have created a new user interface layout, and now when I right click on this file, this will appear here. This wasn't here before, but after we have created the layout, it will allow us to open the file and see and modify the content of the file using this binary editor. So okay, you probably never knew this was possible in your RealWorld Paint or other RealWorld application. So if anyone wants to actually create a good text editor or binary editor, you can download this and enhance it and make it better. If you want to create editor for something else that is not text, binary or image, something totally unsupported, there were some suggestions in the past to create a RealWorld font editor. If anyone wants to do it, they have to create this document factory that will be able to read and, or it's more complicated than that, but in principle it should be able to create documents of type font, and then you have to create some kind of view that will allow you to edit this font, and then you can see all these parts that are already done, and define your own user interface layout for your own data type editor of your document type, and you have a new editor for fonts or something else. So I think we have touched almost anything important in here. And let me check quickly if there are questions. No questions. In that case, what else I wanted to? So in the future weeks, I will be updating this realworld-core repository on GitHub, because there are still changes I have to make to it, and after that I will be publishing another repository, realworld-image, and that will contain the code related to raster and vector images. And you will need this realworld-core on your computer if you want to work with the future realworld-image repository. You need this will be needed in any case. This is the core, as it's called here. And one more thing, when you should create a folder on your computer. I don't know, you can call it my projects or whatever, and then put what you have downloaded into realworld-core subfolder, and this is the Git repository. So be sure to have it in realworld-core subfolder, otherwise you will run into problems, because the project is configured in such a way that it produces the compiled files in this folder that is relative to the realworld-core folder called bin, and inside it you will find, depending on what configuration you select, you will find the compiled files there. Okay, if anyone has any questions later, contact me and I will be hopefully able to answer you. So thanks for watching, and see you again, I hope in 3 weeks, but it may be longer depending on how much time I have to work on the cleaning up stuff and publishing it. So goodbye.